Microphone check. Microphone test. Hello. Channel 1 Great Earth. Looking at Australia today, there are a number of new fires burning across Queensland, which fire season in Australia started in August, has largely been avoiding these places that have been rampaging, especially in territory as far as Western Australia, the north part, south and north, and east of Broome. Alice Springs, population of 20,000 or so people, 25,000 people. Seeing some brush fires, bush fires around the area too. That's a lot of smoke, a lot of carbon monoxide. It's a lot of small fires that meet together that transfer fuel. One fire continues staying true on the path, and burning what's left that this other fire didn't hurt across all these dunes, slopes, cliff faces, and rocks. It's a lot of different abnormal factors for these fires. And especially it's very dry. It's pretty heavy drought in Western Australia in the southern part as well, and getting up into, I thought you could, here we go, drought here. One moment while I set my okay. So pretty heavy drought. And possibly up here is essentially where any area is going to have a lot of fire behavior and activity with a lot of smoke. It's going to drive moisture away. It's going to push moisture out, especially in the soil, any trees, plants, vegetation. Anything that absorbs and retains moisture is going to have that moisture out because it wants to avoid the heat. Tremendous amount of heat that gets encapsulated under these domes of smoke that eventually will cause other fires in the same pathway that smoke follows. So whenever smoke finds itself, because smoke is sticky, it's going to mend itself, twirl and twirl, and allow those fires to heat. See a lot of these low ground bush fires, a lot of these brush fires. But from what I'm seeing in Australia, especially Queensland, there are a number of new fires to catch up with. First, we are going to look just at the most recent sunny day of Australia, because you cannot see these wildfires at night, unless you are looking at other data, but visually it's difficult. It has to be a pretty tremendous fire. But as of right now, we don't have dozens of fires, just as the headline implies. Let me turn on the border here. Border down here. That is New South Wales. ACT further south than that. All this Queensland. And right now, it is currently seeing a significant spike in fires. Come down here, just south of Gladstone. Wildfire burning here, here. And this smoke. Bunches up here. Uses clouds. These plumes of smoke do a lot. They might not go up very high because these fires are burning, but they're burning forward. They're lofting and lobbing all the smoke as the fire rages. Gases are being expelled, carbon's being let out, and smoke is building up with a lot of particulates. Anything that is small enough to be lofted up into the air will meet a thermal inversion where it won't be able to progress. They'll start billowing. We'll start seeing more cloud-like features of smoke, but smoke is sticky. Smoke will want to be everywhere, but smoke doesn't have to move on its own. Smoke is moved plenty by high winds, other fires, other smoke. It's a lot of smoke underneath all these diffused clouds, these striations of high altitude clouds being broken up by going over these wildfires where there's a huge thermal vent. Can't quite see, but since all this smoke is meeting up, it can really put a lock on the area, cause more pestilence, more decay, more ash sickness of plants. Fires are looking pretty heavy. Let's go back a little bit. This is last night for Australia. Latest scans. You can see these bands of weather, of clouds that are much higher up than these blazes. And as the clouds cross over, it's going to want to split. So the higher altitude clouds go up, anything else gets diffused, while the smoke flame remains. More of a heat blanket being pulled over, this giant woolly blanket over these areas that will just continue to burn. They'll just these zombie fires just lumbering around, rampaging. This is all smoke right here. Dozens of new fires. Some right here. And we have smoke caught up. Looks like there's some fires burning right here. Here in Queensland, getting further north up in Queensland. Don't see any horrendous amount of smoke, but could just be getting caught up in a squall line of weather. This looks like smoke, but I don't want to confirm smoke. Okay. And gets shuffled off. Cycle. So, a couple of pretty big wildfires. One right here by Atherton, and a couple by Hope Vale that are pretty significant, creating a lot of smoky conditions. And even far north, the number of wildfires that are burning in this area. Smoke. Smoke is sticky, and smoke will find its way to other smoke. Everything else is trying to escape it, especially moisture. Now, we did have a couple of fires that were on these islands to the north of Darwin, Northern Territory, not to skip over too much, but those are fires at Melville Island and Bathurst Island. Okay, so we looked at Queensland. Not much really here on this satellite besides there's a huge plume of smoke, but also very smoky, heavy conditions all throughout the Northern Territory, especially north and west of Alice Springs. The smoke might not be on the same elevation, say like a building, but it does come down, it still moves, shuffles and shifts, and it disrupts local climate, it disrupts local weather. I don't think anywhere in Australia has seen much rain lately. Days probably. And while this smoky conditions continue to affect more and more of Australia, especially going out as far as Karratha, Western Australia, to Broome, Western Australia, to north of Broome. Pretty big fire perimeter here. There's a lot of different blazes that burn throughout the days, weeks leading up to these throughout Western Australia. These fires are going to continue burning southwest, while Broome is very precariously close to a wildfire that has burned several kilometers in a day. Town can get overrun by this if it's not prepared, which treating hundreds of firefighters. So it's not that they're active blazes, they have multiple fronts, difficult to access. Some of these blazes, they just start at their hottest, their brightest, or there might not even be a fire until almost nightfall, where it's too late to have helicopters or planes drop any material or water on an area that's burning. Queensland is going to be definitely the focus, but also some things in Northern Australia look like they're going to take off. All of this area here still has left to burn. Over here, check ultraviolet aerosol index. All this the winds. Blowing a lot of hot, thick weather out to the sea. I believe the Timor Sea. While these fires that are burning on the northern side of Queensland that we were just looking at, being caught up in that Gulf of Carpentaria. Back, look at nitrogen dioxide. Again, you can see the footprints of many of these wildfires. This data scan. Safe to assume that these either are The fire's burning, smoke rising. Where it hits a point, either it'll tumble away or it'll hit a thermal inversion and it'll start making nice smoky rings and plates above it. So based on what we were seeing, all these footprints match up, and especially the Northern Territory, that land is still smoldering, going as far as to Western Territory here. All should be considered smoldering. It's an intense amount of land. And some of these runs are in the hundreds of kilometers over just a few short days. There's massive gains from bushfires that are just eating away at Northern Territory. All of that pollutants, carbon monoxide, which we'll check in a moment, heads over to Western Australia out to sea, where it can be built up and could be dangerous, very hazardous air to breathe. Unfortunately, Australia doesn't have many, if any, really air quality sensors stations, anything of the sort. So it really is, you have to pay attention to these types of things, get a better idea of what the air is going to be like today or tomorrow. Let's look at the sulfur dioxide whole column just for today. Nope, that's fine. Now, carbon. So this is Northern Territory. Alice Springs down here. You have Broome up here. This is heavy concentrations of carbon monoxide. These are columns, so satellite picks up a lot of information here. Just the screen, apologize. No, I don't think it's showing up. Let's see here. We can do the same motions again. Air quality, heading out to Broome. Broome looks to be just under all this fallout of all of this terrible air quality that's lofted over from Northern Territory, that fires ran over the border, over Northern Territory, over to Western Australia, where the fires continue to burn. Not saying that the fires started in Western Australia, Northern Territory. Western Australia has their own wildfires. We can get a better sense of where these fires have traveled when we look closer to higher resolution. Let's start in the Western Australia side, because Queensland's going to be quite a bit. Down over here, south of Carafa. Now these are some recent burns. Here, here, a lot of land here, right here. So it's heading towards a drought. Drought's all on the southwestern side of Perth, out east. And this is going to drive further drought conditions, meet up with already extreme drought conditions. So we're seeing extreme fire danger, extreme fire risks all throughout the region. Not seeing any active fires south of Carafa and these acres of scorched earth. lot of bushfires that burn, that just go all over the place, that meet up. You know, it's not just one big fire that's burning an entire area like an actual bush. It's burning bushes. It's going forward. It's staying true. Path of least resistance that will keep the fire fed. Also, as you can see here, rivers are always a way that fire cheats death. So you think that the fire is going to go into the water. Instead, it takes that momentum, it's coming down a slope, comes back up. That's when you start seeing these strange, like union symbols, because it's hitting a slope, coming down, racing back up. So rivers are pretty dangerous whenever you're dealing with a lot of wildfires, because this is going to dry the river out. It's going to speed the river's progress by filling it with a lot of different sediment, particulate matter, and it's going to just make the water sick for a while until it recovers. And that is most I see. I don't see any active fires, so let's continue going northeast, heading towards Broome, Western Australia, very Western Australia. Now here is we'll take a look at the north area of Broome. Not see any active new fires burning alongside coastline, but we know there are fire lines there that have been there for days or weeks. So besides the air quality affecting Western Australia, it doesn't look like there are many wildfires, at least at this point. And again, I'm just going by most recent scans, fire data, and smoke that is visible. Like this. You're not looking at clouds here, that's smoke. So I don't see any fires that are burning freshly right now. A lot of scorched earth, a lot of patchy burns, a lot of sporadic fires, combustion. I think we're still in, we're going over to Northern Territory now. Take rivers. Those are some fires there. A lot of very thick, very dark smoke billowing out. Huge fire front. Northern Territory. Massive active burns happening. A lot of very dark smoke that's meeting a lot of weather that's looks like it's coming through. But as soon as it goes over, areas like this that you have these minor burns. These minor burns can race and become very much larger burns over a short period of time. I will use a time lapse so we better see this area, these several active fronts that we a little bit here, here. Time lapse over the last month so we can get an idea of. So these doesn't. Date is up here on the top right. This scan is from the 6th. Push play. There's a 6 scan, so I'll let it go for a cycle before I stop it and anything we might have seen. So immediately, one of the first things that pop out, there is a fire here. On the 21st. By the 26th, days. Pause it now. Go back to the final scan. We can see this further burn that's extending on the 31st. This is from 5 kilometers. You wouldn't see structures at this level of resolution or of this satellite scan. It's too high up, so the fact they're able to see such a massive burned almost corridor the fire just ran through. A lot of smoke get let out, and it's still burning. Still causing a lot of hazardous air conditions that aren't being reported as they should be, because Australia doesn't have any air quality stations outside of Gold Coast south to Australian Capital Territory. Not Northern Territory, not Western Australia, and not Southern Australia, which Southern Australia is very dusty. Not smoke, it's a lot of dust in the air. That's trying to make its way over through the Northern Territory, but isn't able to impede all this smoky, hazy conditions. Looks to be the biggest fire raging right now in Northern Territory. We head north towards Darwin. All this diffusion of clouds high up in the altitude. Not seeing a lot of low to mid cloud coverage being replaced by smoke. Smoke here. Do a time lapse of this area to get a better idea of how this fire traveled. Apologies for that mute. Let's minimal tile coverage. We can already see on the second, this is already pretty burned. Massive smoke that's burning out west. Not doing. I made an error. That roll. So let's try something else. Pretty big fires. Queensland is a lot. Let's go over some more areas. See, as of October, this area was already largely burned. See a few areas. Seven. Each fired one in together. Smoke. Big blaze on the 17th, Queensland. Wind change going south, southeast. And the 27th going back north again, west. And now present day on the 1st November. Stages up here on top right. Areas of smoky footprints. Zoom in even further on these fires, you can see where the spots are burning near the roads. Time lapse of this area here. You can see nothing here the 11th here, nothing here the 16th, nothing here the 21st, except on the southwest side. Nothing really. And then 26, boom. Very significant smoke, very significant fires burning. Again, zooming out, this is Queensland, northern part of Queensland. We're not by the Gold Coast or Brisbane yet, or Toowoomba. It's currently north. Because right now we're seeing some pretty significant stretches of fire that are burning within, how long is this crow flies between 0.92 kilometers. It is a lot of scorched earth. And this land can burn again. It can burn deeper as the fire rages, removes vegetation. It kind of upheavals all of the nutrient-rich soil by driving moisture way down, out, around, evaporates, escapes. So it not only is wildfires setting a precedent, continue burning, it can also come back, path of least resistance, kind of. As you can see, the smoke constantly northwest, southeast, and smoke will allow the fires to travel in the direction that the smoke's the heaviest. Continue looking. Getting into more of the Queensland area, further, much further over. Still not there yet. Northern Queensland, over. This is on the other side of Cape. We have right here, right here, right here. All this is scorched earth. Fire right here. Take a bigger time lapse of the whole region. From the 1st of the month to the 1st October to immediately on the 11th, we can see that there are no burns on this. It looks healthy, looks like a lot of lush vegetation all throughout the river system. Again, rivers are magnets for bushfires, brush fires, wildfires. It's a lot of fresh vegetation, it's a lot of moisture to drive away, and a lot more material to burn. More grass so they can dry out more. Dry out, have a better chance of. Now immediately right up here, massive fire right here. Right here. Dates up here on the top right. Play. Yeah. And last frame on the 31st. Now this is hundreds of kilometers. It's not just one big growing fire. It's more like a carriage return on a typewriter. It just keeps going, next line growing over. As the conditions that were first met for the fire to start originally in the run, just the self-fulfilling prophecy all the way south of what is. And again, it's following the river. It's not a coincidence that it's following the river. It's not following water. It's following slopes, allowing it to gain momentum to come back again and again, stronger and stronger. A lot more fuel to burn alongside a lush vegetative ecology. It interrupts the local ecology with fire. Fire normally probably wouldn't burn, but these kind of fires that are just wind driven, that are very hot with heavy smoke, thick blankets of smoke that are causing more and more runs to be successful faster. As you'll have one column, it's not a controlled burn, it's not standing straight up, it's not contained blaze, it's not standing straight up, it's coming out at a curve and arcing. You're going to have that falling. Lots of other material, pieces of wood, trees, plastic, melting anything. That's going to be several hundred degrees Fahrenheit when it falls. When it hits a slope and rolls, all that's going to bunch up quickly, especially if it's building materials, construction material, anything like that. That would just sizzle up and just be 10,000 little particles at several hundred degrees Fahrenheit that will explode, causing a rain of sparks. Seen that before. This is largely following river. Play one more time. Better roll for this fire, how it burns awkwardly out and around itself. So this run, little zigzag, is 79 kilometers. So it's very significant. And again, they're kind of bushing out. It's not that they're burning literal bushes. Like these fires burn low, hot, and they just consume everything around them very slowly as they spread. Very significant fires that we're seeing here along this river system. I do not have the services normally would pop up, but it is far northern Queensland. On the other side of Hopevale, just burning like central, out west, northern Queensland. You look at this again here for the carbon monoxide total columns. Over on the Queensland side, we can see these fires that we've been looking at. These ones that are burning and putting smoke all over the coastline. This is Bundaberg, Hervey Bay, Maryborough. Pretty close to some towns. Ugh, very close. Now we've seen fires that made runs Northern Territory, Western Australia, and Queensland that add up to 700 miles of kilometers if you factor in each run, but only 21 kilometers south of a populated city. Does it have an airport? Don't see any. It would be just incredibly close with a lot of fields leading up to just the bump, just the rear bump of the town. Pretty significant wildfire burning. A lot of fields. Hopefully these fields aren't being burned for farming purposes like they're being burned in India. Good job. They're absolutely crimes against humanity, not nature, because nature doesn't have to deal with all the smoke all day. It's terrible to hear that the practice is still going on. Don't burn your fields. What you're trying to destroy in the soil isn't something that fire is going to be able to. And if you're having prion disease, no, you can use napalm. It's not going to destroy it. It can destroy the root systems, so it doesn't use as much water the next years. Never seen an actual explanation that made any sense. Just, oh, okay, well, the science says this, let's do the opposite and let's completely incinerate fields every season, or every season. So nobody can breathe. Hopefully that is some pretty healthy fires. Let's make a time lapse of this area. Include the city to the north. Go to the last 3 slides. Fire and then much fire. Here we can see in Queensland, number of burns. A time lapse of this top area here. While this loads, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Helps me a lot. So many ways. It's just the threshold is tile coverage, the minimum tile coverage, and I'll push play. Oh. Okay. So count the second. We'll count here. 7th. Doesn't burn that much more. 12th. Plates. Slide. Burns further west. Smoke haze. Blown out east. Heavy northern expansion of flame. And then the last frame. So these fires here, coming back around on the 1st. Hundreds of kilometers of perimeter of fire, of active fire fronts that have been waves of flame and other smaller burns that met up with bigger fires that eventually just engulf this whole area. Not engulf, but scorch. Scorch this whole area. These runs are big, and as we've seen, it's not too far. This Gladstone, Rockhampton. Getting further Sunshine Coast, even further south of that is Gold Coast, which, oh, there are. The fires right down there. Winds being driven southwest. Three, 4, 5, 6. At least 6 blazes. Very close to Logan City. Very close to Brisbane. Very close. Couple 100 kilometers. Armadale. These fires are significant, so let's take a look at them. Time lapse. These are brand new fires burning in this region again after scorching the earth at least 2-3 weeks before prior. Significant fires that are already starting up again after, I believe these were fires that had over 100 firefighters on that were putting them out, but see, these fires abuse river systems, channels, ditches. Everything is out and then just over a slope that you couldn't see that was burning, smoldering, because it's kind of wet vegetation by the river system. That might be enough right there to start at another burn. That would put them up. That would that U symbol. Now that we just hear another fire here burning, two fires burning close to Bundaberg. Significant amount of fires burning dangerously close to a lot of the biggest cities in Queensland, especially you get down here to Brisbane, even Toowoomba. All of this burn here. Okay, I think that's most of it. You can look at this one time lapse here. This very dark, brooding looking, at least multiple active fire fronts on this perimeter. Let's zoom in and take a look at a time lapse of it. Nothing from the 6th to the 21st. Play. 21st. 26th. In just a few short days. Huge expansions. Queensland is this is probably going to get a lot worse in Queensland due to the drought, because these fires are burning near Brisbane, near Gold Coast, near Toowoomba, very close, dangerously close. It's destroying structures, homes, and these people become climate refuge. If no, this isn't going to get better for Queensland. This is getting actively worse than just the past few days. So, besides the air quality, largely the northern half of Australia, from Queensland to Northern Territory to Western Australia, is seeing a lot of buildup of a lot of different elements, pollutants, even though they're not at the lowest level. So, outside building level, building height. Any active. This is a significant wildfire here to keep track of. Northeast side before too far north from Queensland, so you reach the Gulf far, but right before the border of Northern Territory. Hopefully, this doesn't burn over the border. You know, certain Union fire departments were on strike early in the season. I haven't seen updates about that lately, so I don't know. Hope so. Your firefighter needs them. It is very, very dark, very quick burning. Active. Looks like it probably had a similar burn pattern here, just north of it, which can last weeks. Fire uses smoke to transit itself over and fall an area that was susceptible to fire, because between the river channels might have been less susceptible. Over the river channel, on the other side, there might be drought, which there is. Not that high. I haven't seen about that. Drought more, but it's going to become in Australia the way it's shaping up. This to be it's a lot of carbon monoxide. A lot of very bad things that are not being getting for it's allowed to be optimal. Australia watching, subscribe.